I realized about halfway through my sanding that I ran out of battery on my other camera, so I'm currently using my cell phone. So I've got it all sanded down, flush all the way around. It's matching my angles. I've even checked. I'm going to set this up here like this so everyone can see. I've checked part of it. I've got about 50.5 millimeters on that side total, and I've got about 50.5 millimeters on this side. So they are pretty close to identical on height. I mean, you can't get much more than 50.5 millimeters. I mean, that's pretty close. So I think it's looking pretty good. I think I'm going to untape it and see how we go from there. So right now it looks pretty good. And while that was kicking up quite a bit of dust, I did have the dust collector on and I was wearing a dust mask. I don't have a respirator, so I have to do with what I got. It collected some, but some dust didn't get collected, as you can see. But as you can see, based on the inside of the dust collection pipe, there's a lot of dust in there, and I mean, it's, I don't know if you can see it all the way, but it's pretty yellow all the way down through there from dust. But right there it didn't get any, and there's just a slight little bit of dust down in below. But for the most part, most of the dust actually went into the makeshift dust collector there, the way it was sanding and the way it was throwing it. So worked pretty good. Painter's tape comes in real handy for holding stuff together like this. Comes off really easy and works really good to keep things stationary so you can make identical parts to your project. Got arrows here pointing which direction I want the feed to flow, and then I've got a chamfer that I'm going to put on this side so dust does not build up on here when you're cutting. And the same with this. I've got a bead for back, the direction that it's supposed to go, and where the chamfer is supposed to go. So it'll look exactly like this once I get it done and mounted. I'll chamfer here, and I'll chamfer inside of here so dust won't build up, so you'll get a nice square edge. But overall, I think it's looking pretty good. I'm going to put the chamfer in this side here, and this side here. It should be pretty easy to do. Just going to make sure I put the chamfer on the right side, and then we have the front and back all cut. I don't know how well you can see this, but I was taking my router bit out and I ended up slicing my finger, not on the router bit, but actually on the underside of the cast iron table leaf for my table saw, which has the router stand on it. I was undoing the collet, and the wrench broke loose and spun the collet, and ended up slicing myself on a sharp barb underneath that cast iron leaf. So I'm going to mark where I need to drill my screws so I can screw that down. I'm going to glue it and I'm going to screw it. Probably do several screws, at least 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, if not 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on each side so that it fits nice and snug. What I don't want to happen is I don't want it to break loose, and I need this to stay put at 100% square, which right now the runners are perfectly square with the board, so it'll slide perfectly straight. But that's not really important until you actually set the things, or set the front and back, because you want those, if you choose to cut with the front or if you choose to cut with the back, you want those absolutely perpendicular to your slides so that they're running true and straight with the blade. So your cuts are 90 degrees center on. These are just under 1.5 inches because, of course, you know, plywood from your big box stores just isn't 3/4. It's just shy. So I'm looking at, you know, 1 inch and 7/16. So right here I'm going to add the initial cut in my crosscut sled. I'm going to raise the table saw blade up so that it makes and perforates the top of the surface of the board. And then I'm going to run it back and forth across to get the curve set. Turned out it was green.